Michael Sheitelman, political analyst, is joining me now. Good evening, Michael. Welcome.
Good evening, Natalia.
Michael, Lithuania has sent a very clear message to Russia recently. If Moscow threatens NATO from Kaliningrad, the alliance has the means to respond, including by destroying Russian military infrastructure there in a crisis. The Kremlin immediately called Lithuanian ministers extremists and described the statements as madness. Peskov did that. Does the Kremlin's reaction show that Russia is afraid of the West finally being ready to respond with force, but not as they did before?
This Lithuanian reaction is still very soft, because during our full-scale war between Russia and Ukraine, Russia threatened to a lot of European countries. Eventually, it also treated Lithuania with nuclear weapon. I don't remember exactly who is the one from Russian officials. I mean Russian officials, not propagandists. I believe that it is former President Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev, who is the former President of Russian Federation. He said that one of Russian plans is to bomb Vilnius, the capital city of Lithuania, with nuclear bombs. So this reaction anyway is very soft, just to destroy not Moscow, not totally destroy Russia, not with a nuclear weapon. But what Lithuanian minister said, that we should remove Russian fortress in the heart of Europe, which is called now Kaliningrad. This is the former German city of Königsberg. And this part of land, it is just the destiny of Soviet Union to Russian Federation. And it was also a very big historical mistake. After the Cold War, it was very natural to give it back to Poland or to Germany or to Lithuania, but not to Russian Federation. Why in the middle of Europe should be the piece of land of Russian Federation? It has no sense now, absolutely. And only the very, we are only on the beginning study of European voices about change this reality. But speaking about Russian reaction, they are standard reaction. When they hear somebody from Europe who is ready to resist to Russian aggression, they call them extremists, terrorists, and it doesn't matter is that Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania or it is just some any writer, for example, Russian writers who lives in Europe. They also proclaimed as extremists and terrorists inside the Russian Federation because they oppose to Russian aggression. By the way, yesterday I heard also the reaction not only from Mr. Peskov, but also from Mr. Lavrov, who is foreign minister of Russian Federation, and he was asked in the interview about the reaction of Lithuanian foreign minister. And he said that he does not know who is that. That is the signal of the quality of Russian politicians. Russian foreign minister does not know who is the foreign minister of Lithuania. It means that the very important position in Russian politician establishment fulfilled by absolute idiots like Lavrov, who does not know who is Lithuanian foreign minister. This is his only job, to know who is Lithuanian foreign minister.
But to be honest, Lavrov has it's sad to admit for me, Michael, but Lavrov has an extremely good memory. So I think maybe he did that on purpose. To...
But he looks like idiot in this situation if he is foreign minister and he does not know who is foreign minister of Lithuania, not anything else, yeah?
Michael, let's move to Asia right now. Xi Jinping received the US president and then Russian dictator Putin within just 2 weeks. And the Chinese press is already presenting Xi as the main arbiter of the world, the leader everyone comes to see, as if the center of geopolitics is moving to Beijing. Is the center of global politics really shifting to China?
No, it is just exaggeration, I believe. The truth is, it is strange to say that now, but the truth was said by Mr. Trump, by President Trump before this visit. He said that we have now only two superpower, and this is China and United States, and this is absolutely true. We could compare by different factors like economy or army or technology, and we have only two clear, absolutely clear leaders, United States and China. So it is not not one pole world, but two poles world. And we have two different centers in China, one of them in Beijing and another one in Washington. And for my sorrow, and I believe for our Ukrainian sorrow, Europe now is not superpower. Europe is candidate to superpowers, but not the superpower. Europe has only one factor of superpower. Superpowerity is economy. Yeah, European economy is comparable with Chinese and American, but European army is not comparable to these two armies, and European technology level, I mean artificial intelligence and all the digital technology, we are not in this race for my sorrow. Only China and United States. So yes, it dismissing that these two visits, they were during almost 1 week, as you said, yeah, during 2 weeks or 1 week, how we count that.
Yeah, I was mistaken. It's 1 week.
Right? No, yeah, that does not matter. 2 different weeks, but one of them was on Friday and next one was Wednesday. So we also could say that this is during 1 week. But it has absolutely different sense, these two visits. First one, it was the meeting of two most powerful people in the world, President of China and President of the United States, and they tried, let's say, to organize the new world order. We could say that, yeah. This attempt was not successful, obviously. And all the visit of President Trump to China was not successful visit, but it was the attempt to put the new order maybe on the paper or at least on the conversation. And visit of President Putin to China, we can't compare it to visit of Mr. President Trump to China, because Russia is a very small country, very small with economy, very small with army, absolute zero on technology level. And the most interesting comparison is comparison of two delegations. I made the calculation of market cap of the business delegation of President Trump and President Putin. President Trump, he had in his plane, he had chairman of NVIDIA, chairman of Apple, chairman of Tesla and SpaceX, and a lot of another business leaders and entrepreneurs. And the total market cap of these companies is $20 trillion. 20 trillion, 20 trillions. Now, President Putin tried to compete with Trump, and he also brought the huge delegation of Russian entrepreneurs and businessmen, and not only businessmen, but also top managers of Russian state-owned companies like Sberbank, for example, and Rosneft and Gazprom. By the way, all of these companies under heavy sanctions of Europe and United States and Australia, all the civilized world. So he also had a dozen or more businessmen in this delegation, and total market cap of these companies was about $200 billion, because the most expensive company was Rosneft with a market cap of $60 billion, Gazprom $42 billion, and Sberbank also something around that, I don't remember exactly. Part of them delisted, by the way, from all the world stock exchanges because of the sanctions. But totally it is 200 billion, 20 trillion and 200 billion. It means multiplier 100. So Russian US delegations is 100 times bigger than Russian delegation. So we just can't compare these two visits, and this is absolutely nonsense to compare that.
And also, we saw, Michael, those images online, officials carrying, briefcases and folders full of documents on the pictures, like as if the two sides are ready to sign, like 40 documents, as they were saying. And like, wow, 40 documents, 40 agreements, or what? Did Putin get anything he truly seriously wanted from Xi?
I read these documents. I can't say I read all the documents, but at least titles of all of these documents. The most important of these documents, in reality now, not in the fantastic word, is the document about the building of railway between two cities in China and Russian Federation. Is Manchuria city in China and Blagoveshchensk city in Russian Federation, but this railway, the distance between these two cities is, I don't remember exactly, but 40 kilometers or something like that. So this is the most important document out of all of these documents. They signed some agreements about some, I don't know, it is difficult to mention. Shortly speaking, not one of economic agreement had any significant economic value. The most important project which Russians brought to China, the idea was to build the new gas pipeline from Russian Federation to China. Sibir Power 2, this is the name of this project, Sibir Power 2. And this project is about 10 years old, and this is visit number 10 of Mr. Putin to China, in which he tries to persuade Chinese to agree to this project. But Chinese, in theory, they agree for this project, to build this project, but they have a couple of conditions. First, Russia should invest their own money in this project. No Chinese money will be invested in this project. And Russia just does not have these funds, totally. And second, the price of this gas, which could be in theory produced and consumed by Chinese, this Russian gas, the price should be the lowest price in the world. Totally, yeah. It should be the inner Russian price, which they call inner Russian price. In Russia, price of gas is very low inside Russian Federation. It is like, the gasoline in Iraq costs 2 cents, not $2, 2 cents per liter. So the gas in Russian Federation is about 2 cents per liter or something like that. So Chinese, they want the gas in the same price like Russians, they supply one to each other. So this project has no success also during this negotiation, and this is decade when the Russians try to persuade Chinese. But in all of this pile of documents, we have only one interesting paper. But it absolutely senseless, but interesting. This is the paper which in real world Trump and Xi could sign between them. Because this is the paper of who is superpower, who is not. And Russians and Chinese, they signed it as a document. Like nobody is superpower in the world. All the countries, they have their own right and sovereignty, and nobody could interfere in sovereign states. And I don't remember what exactly. I don't remember the wording of this, but the idea is the Russians and the Chinese, we could say that we are building the new world order. It is funny, just funny, and this is not serious document, obviously, and I believe that Xi signed that only from one reason. Putin wants that. Why not to sign? Anyway, we couldn't do anything with that. So it was like the gesture towards Putin. Yeah, you want, we will sign that.
So basically, Xi just made a favor, signing the document and maybe even meeting. with the...
Yeah, exactly. It was the favor to Putin. This paper. I mean, but about meeting itself, the visit itself. This is the visit number 25 of President Putin to China. So Putin is the Russian dictator during last 26 years, 26 years, and this is visit number 25. So this is like annual visit. You can't cancel that. You have annual visit of the neighbor and somebody who absolutely depends on you, and Russia absolutely depends on China, on Chinese supply and on Chinese technologies and on Chinese money, by the way. By the way, the only sense in this delegation, this huge Russian delegation, was to bring the chief of Russian National Bank, Mrs. Nabiulina. She is the chief of National Bank, State Bank, and reality that under the sanctions in Russia, it is banned to trade with dollars and euro. There is no stock exchange where you could sell and buy euro and dollar in Russian Federation because of sanctions. So the only real trade in foreign currency is the trade with Chinese yuan, renminbi. And de facto, because of all the trade between Russia and China is accounted in renminbi, in Chinese money, not in Russian money, and not in dollars, and not in euro. So de facto, Russia does not have their own financial system. And all the Russian financial system and Russian rubles, that's like quasi money. This is not the real money. This is the quasi money of Chinese yuan. So their foreign exchange, the rate of their money depends of rate of yuan. If China, under the pressure of United States, by the way, I have a pressure about that, change the exchange rate of yuan, so exchange rate of Russian ruble automatically the same day changes towards American dollar. So de facto, Russians, they don't have any own economy. They are just the one small part of Chinese economy now.
Michael, it's not a secret that in China, people are paying a lot of attention to details. And a Russian dictator there was entertained, I would say, by ballet. And there was Swan Lake, played by Pyotr Tchaikovsky. Do you think, I know you have a kind of you have a T-shirt with a meaning, and we know the meaning of it. But do you think in Beijing they were putting some special meaning into the performance?
Yes, sure, because in Russia, this music by Tchaikovsky, the dance of small swans, is daily symbolic. This is like a tragedy, and it happened in 1991 when Soviet Union collapsed in August 1991. And all the TV stations at this moment, they were owned by a Russian state. They were not private TV stations. And one beautiful day, August 19th, 1991, all the TV stations started to broadcast the same program, the ballet, and the part of the ballet which was called the Dance of Small Swans. And it was the day then the military coup d'etat happened in Moscow and in Russian Federation, and the militaries and special forces, they tried to remove Gorbachev from his position of president of Soviet Union. And these 2 or 3 days, they decided the fate of Soviet Empire, and Soviet Empire collapsed after that, and collapsed to 15 independent states. So from this day, this music and this part of the ballet is the symbol of changes in the Russian Federation. And everybody from opposition, they wait for this music, like they believe that the day when Putin will be die or will be killed and murdered by opposition, they believe that that day they will play exactly exactly by Chinese National Orchestra to Putin and his comrades who came to Beijing. By the way, before that, during the visit of President Xi, also there were a couple of symbolic gestures from China's side towards Trump. I mean the Trump visit. They, for example, they did something I don't remember, something with roses, and Trump signed his decision about tariffs against China in Rose Garden in White House. So it was the answer of Chinese to Trump also, and couple of another hints during the visit of Mr. Trump.
Do you think Putin probably wanted badly to know what Xi and Trump discussed while meeting in Beijing?
It is very. We don't have any information about really about their meeting. We heard some official positions after the meeting. And these official positions, it was very, very, by the way, it was not, they were not press conference. They were not press conference of Putin towards press. He had with him in his plane dozens of Russian journalists, at least. I don't speak now about Chinese journalists or common press conference, but at least his own press conference. Every time that Putin goes to any visit to Turkey or, I don't know, to Mongolia or to Equatorial Guinea, he has the big press conference with his own journalistic pool. This time he did not have any press conference. And also Mr. Xi, President Xi, also did not say anything. So part of analysts, they think, oh yeah, under the closed doors, they discussed the fate of the world and globe. But really, I don't believe. I believe that their conversation was very short and very empty, and they did not have any chance to move forward their relationship. I mean, the relationship between Russia and China, only because the different level of development. China is very developed country, one of world leaders, and Russia, if you compare to, for example, the PPT, GDP by PPT, so Russia is in the middle of the table on the place like 60 or 70. If you compare value of economy, of Russian economy, it is not in top 10. Russian population also not in top 10. So, and Russia totally depends on China in money, in economy, and technology. So it is difficult to find something new. They sold everything. During last 4 years, Russians, they sold for very cheap price all of their country to China, de facto. So they don't have anything else to sell.
So they are definitely not the equal leaders meeting. Definitely not.
Absolutely.
No.
No. You can't compare that. You can't compare that. When you compare the economies, it is 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, something like that. Population 1 to 15 or something like that. So they are not equal. Absolutely not.
Michael, the self-proclaimed president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, suddenly says that he's ready to meet President Zelensky anywhere in Ukraine, in Belarus, to discuss relations and kind of a prospect. But in the same breath, he threatens that Belarus could enter the war if it faces what he calls an aggression. Is Lukashenko trying to send a message to Kyiv, or he's just delivering a message from dictator Putin? I cannot understand that.
He tries to send message to Washington and to President Trump, obviously. Now we have this big, big deal and big political game between White House and Belarus. And representatives of White House, they come to Belarus every month now. And this is the first time, not during the full-scale war between Russia and Ukraine, but during last century, in 21st century. It is the first time when some Americans come to Belarus. In Belarus, there is no embassy, there is no ambassador of United States. That sanctions on Belarus by United States. We were put not in 2020 when Lukashenko killed some opposition leaders, but I don't remember exactly the year, but it happened in the beginning of this century when Lukashenko killed the first, the first generation of Belarusian opposition in 2000 or something like that. So this is very long history of sanctions, American sanctions on Belarus. And now it is the first attempt by this administration to cut the ties between Belarus and Russian Federation and to remove Belarus from Russian table, let's say, to American and European table. And they say it openly. This guy, Joe Cole, who is now he's not exactly special envoy, but he's deputy of special envoy to Belarus, but he visited Lukashenko 6 times last year or something like that. He said in his speech afterwards in some American university that he openly offered to Lukashenko to move from Putin to a civilized world. And he said that if you are with Putin, you will be in the loser's line. And if you won't be one of the winners of all of this, not on exactly on the war, but all the geopolitical relationship now, you should be with winners, with us, with Americans and Europeans. And we try to move him. And Lukashenko, who is in very, very fragile position, he also try simultaneously to play some game with Russians, to make some military exercises with nuclear weapon, etc., but simultaneously to send the messages to Washington that he is ready to negotiate and he is ready to make, let's say, at least part of Ukrainian borders safe and secure from Russian forces. So this is the part of this game.
Yes. Michael, my final question is about some good news for Ukraine today, that Ukraine says its drones hit a Russian FSB headquarters in the occupied part of the Kherson region. And the FSB is Russia's main security service, the successor to the Soviet KGB. So President Volodymyr Zelensky announced today that strike also destroyed a Russian Panzer air defense system. And according to him, around 100 Russian personnel were killed or wounded or altogether. Why is this should be very painful for the Russian army, especially because these were FSB personnel and on occupied Ukrainian territory? Why it matters?
It matters because a lot, I believe that most of these people, of these 100 killed military personnel of Russian Federation, were officers, not just the regular soldiers, not just they are regular soldiers. They are very, I can't say how to call them. This is people with very low IQ level and they're from some with low education, etc. But this is officers, and Russia, they have a huge deficit of officers generally on this war. So the important part is that about 100 Russian military commanders, they were killed, destroyed, and this is the good news. But this is not something which happens once a year. This is something which happens, let's say, once a month. So this is good news, but not anything sensational.
Yeah, not sensational, but it's always a pleasure to hear those news. And especially, I think, for those people who are still staying there on the occupied territories, Ukrainians, and they are, living through the nightmare from all these military groups. So, yeah, I think that's a good news. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time. And I wish you a nice evening and see you next week.
Thank you, Natalia. Bye.